This is West of Everest. I am Lee Benson. He is Grant Benson. Yes, we're here. I made it to a post-game show. You're welcome. You're welcome, everybody. And actually, it's a really weird story, but I'm not going to bore everybody with it because when I listen to podcasts, I hate when people just riff over nonsense. Maybe at the end we can talk about it, but for now, OU won, and I was wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong. I thought Oklahoma would lose today. The Sooners win relatively easily, 24-7. There was a time in the game where it seemed like, maybe, but ultimately Oklahoma pulled away, and by the midway through the third quarter, for the rest of the game, it was kind of like, no stress. So good job, IOU. Sooners improved to 6-1, 2-1 in the SEC. Grant, what's going on?
Nothing much. Just got back from the movie theater. Went and saw a movie. Did not anticipate doing a late Saturday night podcast, but that's all right. We're going to go ahead and knock this puppy out. First, I just got to say, it was the final score of the game was 26-7, not 24-7. You were forgetting that.
I forgot about that safety.
You were forgetting that safety at the end of the, or like in the middle of the fourth quarter, whenever it was. So, yeah, it was, yeah, I think, if you look at it sort of from a 30,000-foot view, a 19-point win on the road in the SEC is a good win. I think it's a good win. And I think I definitely have some qualms with the game, especially with what we call the middle eight of the game, as what they have said, as they would call it. That was very, very sloppy by OU. There was certainly an opportunity, especially in the first half of the game, to just run away and hide completely. And they did not take advantage of it, which is, we talk about stuff that continuously pops up in the Brent Venables era, and that has been a hallmark of the Brent Venables era. They have, for the most part, been completely unable to put their foot on the face, on the throat of their opponent, and really just stick it to him. And that's not to say that it's never happened. I mean, it's happened, I guess, a handful of times in his tenure here. But I do think there were times where that portion of the end of the first half maybe kind of overshadowed what was largely a pretty solid road game for Oklahoma. And I think the best way to start here is to talk about the defense, because the defense was dominant in this game for the most part. I don't think South Carolina really did much of anything that was not aided either by OU sloppiness or by the officiating crew. When South Carolina was forced to just full on move the ball down the field, try to go, not even really the length of the field. South Carolina had terrific field position this entire game. They could not do anything whatsoever. I thought, if you go and look at the box score, take away that final drive for South Carolina where they gained about 60 yards with all of the backups in. At the beginning of that drive, South Carolina had 165 yards on 59 snaps. That's about 2.65 yards per play. And that's what it looked like. South Carolina could not really go forward in this game. Not much, if at all.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think, man, the defense was great. And you're right. The field position for South Carolina was terrific all day long. I mean, they were getting the ball near midfield, it seemed like almost every single possession, and OU's defense held them to 7 points. Also, South Carolina's offense was it's dreadful. I don't know what they were.
It's real bad. It's real bad. And South Carolina is a dead team walk, and they're done. They're absolutely cooked as a football team.
Man.
And I think, and you know what, I guess in that sense, from as like someone with battered OU fan syndrome, it's kind of nice that they finally get a team on that end of the spectrum where it's just, their season's just kind of done. They've had a really disappointed year. And, they don't have any good offensive players. Their offensive line's terrible. None of their receivers are good. Lenore Sellers is not good. Just not a good football team.
I think they have some decent offensive players, but also Lenore Sellers, the only thing he's good at is not getting sacked, even though
He
still
gets
gets
sacked a
sacked a
lot.
lot. But he avoided so many sacks. But also, it's just the system is weird. It's very predictable. There's so many just inside zone plays that were just so predictable, and Oklahoma were just eating all day long. And yeah, as much as I'm happy to see Oklahoma not lose and bounce back, man, I can't help but think, gosh, we're 5 minutes in. It's like, I think they just caught it's all about timing, man. They caught South Carolina at a really good time for OU. You're right, man. I don't know if Shane Beamer's a very good head coach. He made, like, it was a battle between two head coaches that were like trying to out mess up themselves today. It seemed like.
It
And
did seem like it.
I mean, at least Oklahoma won, and they set themselves up and feeling a lot better for the rest of the season. But goodness gracious, the rest of the year looks
I think
just difficult.
it does look difficult, but what this game has and other things that are happening right now, what they did was confirm to me kind of what I'd been saying since last week too. I think the defense, OU's defense is terrific. It's a great defense. And everything that we saw last week against Texas was a fluke. Texas's offense is bad. I'm sitting here, they have 130 yards of offense in the fourth quarter against Kentucky. And so last week was just Texas Red River magic. That's all it was. Texas is not a good team. OU just laid a complete egg last weekend. And it was good to see the defense rebound and completely dominate the opposition. I think that's obviously the number one takeaway from this game. And I'm annoyed that they gave up points. It was just a very annoying, sequence of them actually giving up points where, and they would have a lot of the time, they gave up points because of OU shooting themselves in the foot with penalties and just having a Jekyll and Hyde punting game was a big story in this game which was really frustrating. But I think this is this is one of the 3 or 4 best defenses in college football. They are going to keep them in every single game this year. And they're going to need to, because I think we can kind of say it now. And it was nice that OU's offense was able to find some stuff in the running game in this game. And it was only in the first half. They couldn't run the ball again in the second half. They went away completely from anything that worked in the first half. In the second, they didn't do it anymore, which I thought was weird. But we're 7 games into this season, and OU's offense is not particularly good. It's nowhere near as good, or it's nowhere near as bad as it was a season ago. They are functional. They're pretty good on third down for the most part. They've been pretty good this season at staying ahead of the chains. But they completely lack any sort of explosion whatsoever, and that's going to make the next 5 games on the schedule very, very challenging.
I think I take it back. I think Mateer's hand is bothering him. He doesn't have as much oomph on his passes. I'm not sure he's able to grip the ball as well as he wants. His arm strength looks shot. Like, the ball's not coming out very, very quickly. Not quickly. It's not exploding out of his hand, and he's not throwing the ball deep down the field. And I can't help but think that's got to be because of his hand. That's so I think that's factoring in. But let's talk about the good things. I mean, the team ran the ball really well. I don't know what happened in the second half, but in the first half,
I'll tell you,
it was terrific.
That was so. What was one of the big storylines this week? You listen to a lot of the podcasts, listen to this podcast, and OU can find some success in the running game this season when they do not complicate the box, when they go for light boxes. And I don't know if you noticed, but like anytime they were pulling off chunk yardage in the first half of this game, they were spreading everybody out. And they sometimes would motion Kanak in or Helms in to do kind of like that zone insert, but it was all with like pre-snap motion, and so it was kind of organic, and you were forcing South Carolina to tip their hand with all of that stuff. They totally went away from that in the second half. They stopped playing. Jaron Kanak didn't play in the second half at all. It was all Caden Helms for the most part. And they started loading up the box again by putting H-backs and tight ends in the picture again, when they shouldn't do that. And maybe it was one of those things where they're like, hey, we're our defense is totally controlling this game. Let's go back to our stuff that doesn't work for the second half of that game because we're going to have to run the ball next week as well. I hope that's what it was. But the offense in the second half was nothing really at all. They didn't do anything.
They didn't. And here's the thing I was thinking of is they did enough. They did score that touchdown. Mateer had a touchdown pass to Satania. But you go back and look at the total numbers, and Oklahoma had like 320 yards of total offense, nothing special. And that to me, it's like it shows you that they're just not where we hope they would be. I mean, they're like good offenses, even if they're just running their base stuff, would be able to whoop up and beat put up 35 or more on that team and just embarrass
especially
them.
Especially with how well your defense played too.
Exactly. And Oklahoma just can't do it. They can't do it. And that's disappointing. And it makes me think like, oh, is this just the SEC now? And like, no, come on. I mean, that South Carolina team is, I mean, they're not awful, but they're in free fall now. I mean, they've lost 4 games. Oklahoma came out, took it to them. They were beat. And Oklahoma, yeah, they won by multiple scores. But the fact that it got to the point where it was 14-7 and South Carolina got the football late in the second quarter with a chance to score, going into half, getting the ball coming out of the locker room in the second half, it's just ridiculous. And I texted our group chat after, it was 14-0. Oklahoma had got the ball back, and I said, hey, they have a chance to like run away and like embarrass South Carolina. And from that on, there on out, South Carolina then made it close until it wasn't. And that's just frustrating. You touched on it at the start of the show, how against quality competition, I think that's the caveat. Against quality competition, Brent Venables' teams, like even whenever with this great defense, how do you not run away and make it even easier on yourself?
Sure. I mean, and even then though, their first 3 offensive possessions, I thought were great. I mean, they go and they score a touchdown their very first drive of the game. They don't score on their second drive, but they start like inside of their 10-yard line and they still move the chains a couple of times. And then their third drive of the game is a 92-yard touchdown drive. And at that point, you're outgaining South Carolina like 230 to like 60 or whatever it was. And the defense is still doing their part at that point in time. They're getting South Carolina off the field, and then OU just couldn't. They could not run away and hide. And not only could they not run away and hide, but that's where they got sloppy. It started to be it. And I don't know what it is with this team, what it is with Brent Venables' coach teams, but just one of the things that we hoped that Brent Venables would bring to the program is like a very details-oriented team, a team that is at least disciplined, that doesn't, and they've been anything but that. And that's disappointing. They had 10 penalties in this game, almost 100 yards of penalties. Their punt coverage was off. I mean, you go through, and this was something that I missed as I was prepping for South Carolina, but their best offense this season has been that punt returner taking it to the house. And they actually punted the ball to him in this game when that's the only way South Carolina has hurt anybody this year in any sort of putting points on the board at all. And they ended and luckily, South Carolina was not at all capable of moving the ball consistently against this OU team, thankfully. But I mean, OU still tried their best there in the second half to keep them around and keep them in the game. And so, and also I do think it's silly and it doesn't matter. They won by 19 on the road, but it does bug me too that South Carolina got their lone touchdown of the game on 4th down on a play where half of their offensive line false started, and also they missed a couple of holds just on that too that sprung everything. But also it's terrible coverage on the back end. What was that? But it doesn't matter. Great game by the defense. 165 yards of offense for South Carolina by the time that they pulled their starters. I thought that's obviously really, really good. And we'll see. I'm not sure how much of the Ole Miss Georgia game that you watched today, but I do think maybe the number one positive takeaway that you can take from this game was OU finding something in the run game, because Ole Miss's run defense is dreadful. It's awful. It was awful going into the Georgia game too. And so OU hadn't been able to really run the ball on anybody. Kent State, Illinois State didn't really matter. The fact that they were able to run it on South Carolina is a good thing because that was a living, breathing defense that they were able to find chunk yardage on the ground in the first half against. And that's something they're really going to have to lean on next week with Ole Miss's really terrible run defense. That's by far the best offense that OU has seen this year as well. So that's a positive. It's such a weird game. It's like I'm very happy that this happened. That they won this game, but there's still some weird tastes in your mouth that you're left with.
Well, it's what you said, right? You said that they'd win, but weirdly, we wouldn't really feel that much better. I do think that it went better than maybe your prediction. But yeah, but let's talk about let's give Tory Blaylock and Xavier Robinson some props. I mean, Blaylock 13 for 82 and a touchdown in the first half. Xavier Robinson 5 for 49 and a touchdown in the first half. I thought both of their vision was very good. You were right. What set the tone was second play of the game or third play, whatever, second down and 20. And Blaylock busts off 18 yards. And what do they do? To your point, they went empty. They spread it out. And that was the first of many runs where, it wasn't like they were doing 10 personnel. They would do 11 personnel, but then they would split Kanik out or they would split Helms out. And yeah, sometimes they would run them, motion them in to add that extra blocker. But it looked really good. And I thought the offensive line was moving people too. I think they were getting off the ball. And I don't know if the way they want to block or up front change or scheme. I don't know how that would happen this deep into the season, but everything just seemed better and different. And both Blaylock and Robinson, I believe, averaged over 5 yards a carry, which is terrific, especially considering the way things have gone this year. Each 5.3 yards per carry, which is great. It's just it sucks that they couldn't just lean on it more in the second half and just run away with it more. But yeah, you're right. Going into next week, seeing that they can do that, and hopefully Mateer another week of healing, then maybe can add an element, a deep passing element. Giovanni Gibson, a lot of targets, seemed to be playing the role of Keontez Lewis, just like a mid-range, short, like possession receiver guy, which he caught some first downs. I don't know, like we haven't had a chance to see him run yet. I know that was the big thing on him. We saw his highlights from last year. He can do that, but he's coming back from a major injury. So I'm not sure if that's his game anymore, but at least he's a big body that can be a big target for John Mateer. So that's good. Satania was terrific, with the exception of that drop on third down, which was not great. But ultimately, Satania, he's their best receiver. He is. And Deion Burks was invisible in this game. I don't know if they just didn't, maybe he wasn't part of the game plan or what, but you can tell Ben Arbuckle, John Mateer really okay, you got to get the football to Isaiah Satania. That guy with the ball in his hands, he's really good. How about that third down play? One of the third downs where he broke a tackle and made another guy miss and picked up 8 yards in the first down. Just something as simple as that, even though I guess technically it's not that simple because we never see OU guys do it. Seeing it happen, though, in that game was great. And Satania, again, minus the drop, was really good yet again.
Satania's a good player. He's a good player. So there's other frustrating things for me. I mean, OU's offense has started to stall as soon as, Jaron Kanik is not part of this passing game anymore. And he was their best pass catcher when their offense was performing at the highest level that we've seen so far this year. And so that's kind of disappointing to see at this point. But I'm also kind of where you are. I do think Mateer's obviously hurt. He's just not, they're not even trying to throw the ball down the field. There was one, the touchdown pass to Tanya, but that was a schemed up thing. And then other than that, they tried to throw a slot fade to Giovanni Gibson on their second touchdown drive. And it was just a terrible throw by Mateer, not even close. So there's obviously something going on there. Maybe this week, maybe his thumb will heal a little bit more. Maybe it'll be better next week. But this is a defense-led football team right now, and I think, and that's okay. The offense, you can still play complementary football. I think the offense, they came in with the right idea. They were huddling in this game. They were taking their time. They were picking their spots to show tempo. And I had texted over after those the first 3 drives of the game. I had texted the group chat and said, "This is the most that they've looked like 2024 Wazoo all season long. And then they went completely away from it, and then it was gone after the first 3 drives. But I don't know. I'm happy they won by 19 points on the road, and that they dominated the game in the trenches. And it wasn't just not on the defensive side of the ball. I thought OU's offensive line, for the most part, whipped up on South Carolina pretty good in this game, which was good to see. But also, it's worth mentioning too that South Carolina's best player played like 4 or 5 snaps in this game.
Yeah, Dylan Stewart barely played. Would it have mattered? Probably not. I
don't think so.
It's again like, yes, there are certain players that can disrupt a game, and I know last year was a big thing. Like that was a lot of incompetence on OU's, and like I'm sorry, man, defensive players just are not. They're just not anywhere near as important as offensive guys. And Oklahoma probably had an answer for him and could have figured him out. The other guys on the other edges were just running upfield the entire time, which were leaving wide open holes for Blaylock to run through. I mean, our Mason Thomas gets taken out of games all the time. I mean, the whole thing is you want to have other guys on your team around you that make up for it. Speaking of the defensive end edge position, Taylor Wine, another great game. That guy is just showing up everywhere. He's the reason why that Lenora Sellers didn't score in the first half, where he was able to get through, and he was able to get through so much pressure, and Wine brought him down before the end zone. Shane Beamer going for it on their first possession instead of kicking the field goal was stupid. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered in the long run. Like he knew that, but Oklahoma's offense is not very good. Take points. I mean, you got 3rd and 5, you go inside zone, you lose yardage, and you're outside the 5-yard line, and you go for it with your offense, and you don't. It wasn't even a play where Lenora Sellers had like a run pass option. It was just like a straight drop back. Yeah. Anyways, that goes back to the Shane Beamer, I think, trying to out goofball Brent Venables. The stuff before the end of the first half. How South Carolina bungled that. And the fact that Oklahoma allowed South Carolina to have an extra timeout on that possession when Mateer they threw and he was widely off to Satania, that saved South Carolina a timeout. And South Carolina still couldn't figure out a way to get at least a field goal attempt. Just bizarre. And I mean, Lane Kiffin's going to be a heck of a lot better at that stuff next week. Let's see. What other good things happen?
I'm glad you bring up Taylor Wine. Well, I was saying, I'm glad you brought up Taylor Wine. Taylor Wine's terrific. He's terrific. Like I'm starting to think like he's just a playmaker. Guy makes plays, and what guy's in his? I think it's his 3rd year of college, but he's a redshirt sophomore. I was like, I mean, he's the ball. He's always around the ball. You always find him in big spots. And like I said, and maybe I, I'm hyping this up a little bit too much, but I texted the group chat. I was like, All-American. Not this year, but eventually at some point in time. He just makes so many plays. And he's got a nose for the football, and I don't think that's like one of those football cliches of you can't coach that. He's just got the feel for something. He just gets it. And so he's been terrific this season. I thought the defensive line was terrific for the most part. If I had to criticize anything on defense, I'm gonna go with the rotations again. I'm seeing Jaden Hardy and Michael Boganowski and guys like that on the field and in high leverage situations way too much. And I understand that there's a value in getting those guys run, and because depth is good and they can theoretically get better the more that they see and everything like that. But it's not a coincidence that South Carolina scores on the possession where those guys are playing every single snap of the possession. And that's a situation where now you got to stop here and maybe you go down and score and the game's over. And it kind of bugs me that you're giving them life like that. Like, understand the high leverage situation, separate right now, and then get your backup guys in there for some snaps. And so that bugs me. Other things I'm trying to think.
Yeah, let's hit on that. I mean, by the way, on Wine, I mean, it was that first possession where He stopped Lenora Sellers on 4th down, prevented the touchdown. He in the start of the second quarter, he on a little speed option, he made a TFL on the pitch man that forced a punt. He had another TFL near the goal line, I believe, in the second half. And then, of course, he had the INT on the fake punt, which it was nice to see Oklahoma not get faked out on a totally obvious fake punt situation.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, is that the moment where Shane Beamer is like, okay, man, like the most obvious fake punt spot, and they still did it. And OU was like, oh, cool, thanks. And Taylor Wine picked it off.
It was very nice to see that OU was essentially just playing a defense on that play.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, we're just going to we're going to play like cover 4 drop here or something and drop the end. And so I'm very happy they didn't get fooled by that. And that kind of seemed like that was like the last gasp for Shane Beamer. I wonder if there's South Carolina podcasts doing the same thing we're doing right now and saying that was the end of Shane Beamer's career at South Carolina. It's like that was like his last breath of like, this is the one thing I got left in the chamber. Let's see if it works.
Well, we talked about it on our last show. I mean, of the next, I believe, 4 games for South Carolina, this was their most winnable one. With the way Oklahoma coming off that loss to Texas, not feeling themselves at home, and that's how they played. I mean, they're 3-4. They're probably going to lose the next 3 games. I mean, they're going to. And what was their win total this year? Like 7.5. Like, but people were picking them to finish 4th or 5th in the SEC. I mean, they're going to be way under unless they catch some sort of fire. So yeah, it's not great. On that series that South Carolina did score, yeah, I thought the same thing. I mean, why? Of course, it's success for South Carolina is happening when Davon Jordan's in the game and Jacoby Johnson's in the game and Jaden Hardy's in the game.
Oh, I thought Jacoby J was good. Today was Jacoby J's best game of his career.
He gets the random pick at the end there. By the way, if hopefully we're not ruining anybody watching games late, but Kentucky, Texas, still
it's going to go to overtime.
It?
Yeah, well, I'm not. I'm watching the games. It's 13-13 with 9 seconds to go. Yeah, Texas is a mediocre team. Like they're not very good.
This is not live radio. This is a podcast. So yeah. Anyway, what was I at? Yeah, Jacoby Johnson. See, like on the 3rd down and 10 PI, I thought the flag was on Jacoby actually, which was like because Jacoby committed PI, but I guess it was on Jaden Hardy as well. Like he tugged or something and pulled and prevented. So the flag could have been on both guys. But yeah, that was bad coverage. Eli Bowen got called for a PI in the end zone. The replay, I don't think that was pass interference, actually. That was just a situation where it kind of looked like it.
But he didn't turn his head.
He's like 8 inches shorter than whatever the guy's name is. Harbor.
Nick Harbor. That guy sucks.
Yeah. Yes, he's the fact that they're not like throwing jump balls at him though consistently is kind of wild. I mean,
because he can't. He's not any good.
All right. And then yeah, the touchdown pass is just like I know you said I didn't catch that there was a bunch of false starts. I didn't see that. Yes, I did see the holding penalty that was not called. Who cares? Like the coverage was bad. All
yeah, but it does matter because the hold on Kip Lewis is what allowed him to throw a touchdown pass. I mean that's a sack if the hold doesn't.
I think he would. I think he was getting rid of the ball. Like he maybe Kip tips it or something, but no, I think he wouldn't have got there in time.
No, you're doing your Lee thing where, and the coverage was bad on the back end where you're just not. You're like the coverage was bad, so nothing else matters. But yeah, I mean they dialed up.
He was already in his throwing motion when Kip was getting held.
Go back and rewatch it. He was not.
All right, well, we'll go back and rewatch it. But it's the secondary for OU. Finally, we're going to see them get tested the next 3 games: Ole Miss, Alabama, and Tennessee. Yeah, and it's just I don't think it's gonna be pretty, man. I don't think it's gonna be pretty. These guys don't know what they're supposed to do back there.
It's not going to be pretty at times. It's not going to be pretty at times. OU's pass rush is elite of the elite in college football. That it will be like a lot of, Ole Miss lost today, but Chambliss was able to kind of run around back there and find some open guys. Georgia has one of the worst pass rushes in college football. Like Yeah, Georgia only has like 3 or 4 sacks the entire season. They're not,
That's
and
bad.
Georgia's defense is not even particularly good. So I do think and so Ole Miss, while Ole Miss is by far the best offense that OU has seen this season, Ole Miss has not seen a pass rush as good as OU's. Like that's going to be a totally different scenario for them. And so that's going to be an interesting game next week for
And
sure.
that's what Venables banks on, man. He banks on my guys are going to get home. I sound like a broken record, though. It should be that much easier for the back end guys whenever there's not much time for the quarterback to throw. And they continually just don't. If there's any sort of motion in the back, they don't know what to do. I mean, Robert Spears Jennings let that guy cross his face. I don't know what you're doing, man. Like, you're the deep safety. I know there's not much room there. It should make it easier. It was 4th down. Wasn't that 4th down? On that touchdown pass,
the
I
touchdown
believe?
pass, it was.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to throw it, dude. And so my theory, and I texted this to the group chat, we got to bring this up because now Oklahoma's 7 games in. Yeah, Jacoby J did have that gimme interception at the end of the game. But, I mean, 7 games in, Oklahoma now has 3 takeaways and only 2 and when the games were going on, and both against Kent State. They have a takeaway problem. They're a defense this good should be forcing so many turnovers. And my theory as to why, it's because the secondary. I don't think they know what they're supposed to do. There's opportunities back there. That play, that touchdown is an opportunity for an interception for secondary players that know what they're doing. That was not a good I mean, that guy should not have been open, especially with the pass rush Oklahoma can give. Boganowski today, terrible throw. Can't find the ball. Like,
oh yeah,
PI.
that's a good safety. That's a pick all day long.
It's a pick. Like, there's opportunities out there, but Oklahoma's DBs don't know what they're supposed to do. And so they're not taking advantage of them. And I think that's why. So you're just essentially hoping that Oklahoma can force a bunch of fumbles. And fumbles, I guess, happened a decent amount last year for Oklahoma, but fumbles are the hardest one. Like, INTs, I feel like, are the ones that are more doable. But especially now in 2025, there's so many passing teams. They'll have a lot of chances the next few weeks. These offenses are going to face are going to be chucking the ball around, I bet.
I mean, South Carolina had like 13 takeaways coming into this game.
Yeah. No, their turnover margin was really good.
It's like, yeah, it's one of those things where you hope, because one of the things that Bill Connolly says, who's the creator of SP Plus, where it's, there's statistical trends for this, where the things that lead to turnovers are havoc plays, tackles for loss, sacks, passes defended, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And OU is the best havoc team in college football. So it doesn't make sense statistically that they have only forced 3 turnovers this season. And so if you want to look at it from like a statistical point of view, then maybe you just sort of cross your fingers and hope that if OU continues up the havoc numbers, that in these last 5 games of the season, then their luck turns around and they just start to come in bunches. And that'd be great. That'd be cool. So it's going to be, and going up against Ole Miss next week is interesting. They're coming off just like a massive letdown, or not a letdown, a game in which they controlled the majority of the game against Georgia, and then they just get really, really outplayed the last like 20 minutes of the game. And so, Ole Miss is going to be kind of on like, was that the turning point in the negative light of our season type deal? And they got to go on the road right after that. That's tough. And it's a huge game for OU. So, I think that's going to be one of the interesting subplots of this is really the first functional passing offense that OU has played this season when they play Ole Miss next week. And it'll be interesting to see what the pass rush can do there. So,
yeah, you look at the pass, the stats of the 4 teams Oklahoma's played this year. Michigan, Auburn, Texas, and now South Carolina. Texas is by far the best of the 4, and Texas's pass offense is it's fine.
No, I think
nothing special.
Are you talking about pass offense? Michigan's offense is better than Texas's.
Pass offense?
Definitely.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Probably, it's pretty close.
That's not what the stats say. It's pretty bad. And so Ole Miss, though, and Alabama and Tennessee and even Missouri, they're way up there.
Arch Manning, 11 of 25 for 127 yards today.
Yeah, it's not a good loss last week. That's bad.
Texas is
But
bad
hey, let's look
offense.
on the bright side. On the bright side, so the whole point of football, and really any sport, but we're talking about football. I mean, you want Oklahoma, you want your favorite team to be kind of hitting its stride at the right time. I mean, Oklahoma is now 7 games into the season. Man, we're more than halfway through the season. Gosh, it always just flies by, and it's great, but also I hate that it flies by so fast. I mean, Oklahoma's defense has played well, but maybe they can keep playing better. Maybe they can get better. Maybe those turnovers will come. Maybe we can. Maybe it'll even out,
what
and
happens
maybe
if
Mateer he'll get healthy, and like maybe they can figure their offense out. And by the time we get to, maybe they can win some of these games, squeak them out. But maybe they're as an entire team. If Venables is the guy long term, maybe this is as a team that can weather the storm. And by the time we get to November, they're actually playing like a full team, complementing each other, and we're like, okay. It just doesn't. Man, it's a very hopeful way to look at it. But Oklahoma's put themselves in position to still be in contention, no doubt about it.
we have any 3-word reviews?
Yes. Let's go to the West of Evers Facebook page for 3-word reviews. We'll begin with Hype Man Harry. Harry says, running game domination. Skip says, 100-yard rusher. Yeah, Blaylock just barely surpassed the 100-yard mark. Our friend Jared, big tongue in cheek, I would imagine, but he says, playoff bound Sooners. Hunter says, bounce back game. Good to see Blaylock have a good game. Although Hunter says he thinks Xavier Robinson is the best back. Shane says, has multiple. He says, clean up penalties, defensive line spooky. Shane also says that I thought they were going to fall apart this week. I was wrong. Nice rebound game. Yeah, you and me both, Shane. I thought he was going to fall apart and lose, and they came out and they took care of business. Scotty says much needed win. Shelly says feeling more hopeful. Longtime listener Philip says 1.6 yards per rush. Is that what South Carolina averaged running the ball? Man, I guess there's some sacks there too. But yeah, that's great. Vincent says dominant defensive line. Through the Keyhole Pod, friend of the show, Through the Keyhole, says football arousal engage. Tim says it was SC, so throw a little cold water on it. It was. SC's clearly going to be in a free fall. Ben says head coach Kiffin. Looking ahead to next week with Lane Kiffin coming in town. Thanks for the 3-word reviews on the West of Evers Facebook page. I do have some longtime listener Josh, friend of the pod, says that felt good. Defense bang. Lou says Mateer still hurt. Yeah, I thought maybe he was fine after the game, but the ball's not coming out of his hand as sharp as it normally does. That touchdown pass, it kind of floated a little bit. It's just, he misses guys, but it's just there's not as much velocity and pop.
He's also he also, like I'm noticing too, when he's running too, he doesn't have the same explosion as he did like during the Michigan game. So I think he's still kind of banged up there too.
Yeah, he's
use
hurt. Him, running him in certain situations, but don't use him as a crutch to run. I think they can run the football okay in certain situations with Blaylock and now Xavier Robinson. How about the fact that Taylor Tatum was available and got a random carry whenever Mateer's helmet came out? How do you feel about Whit Newbauer coming in instead of Michael Hawkins? Is that it's a red shirt thing?
Yeah, they told us that they want to redshirt him, and so it just made sense that if he's just going to come in and hand off, you might as well.
Yeah. So there's not been a change in the depth chart. Whit Newbauer is not the number 2 quarterback. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Taylor Tatum had like a big wrap on, but I guess he still got a carry, which is kind of random. One thing we have not mentioned, Gentry Williams. Gentry Williams injured. Took until Game 7. And after the game, Venables said it was a shoulder. They had some x-rays. Everything was fine. But, maybe we need to prepare for that being the end of his season. Because If it's a shoulder again, when his shoulders get aggravated, he misses time.
So
And
we'll find out. We'll find out on the Wednesday availability report.
the play it happened on, it was on the inside give to one of their second or third string running backs for that big play in the first half. And it looked to me like he aggravated it, like reaching out to try to tackle, and you could tell, like, I think he probably pulled something. And as a guy that has a pec injury, it makes me wonder if it's more than just his shoulder. Like, I wonder if his pec is also injured and it's everything, or maybe it's a rotator cuff. I don't know. But it's just, for whatever reason, this guy cannot, like, even whenever he gets healthy, clearly it's just not, it's just one play away from getting messed up again. And it's too bad because he's had a pretty good season. And get used to seeing a lot more Eli Bowen, which so far he's been okay. He's been fine. And Cortland Gilroy, he was good. I mean, we didn't really talk about his really nice PBU last week against Texas, which was a nice play. I love that. I love whenever corners, D-backs can still not give up on the catch and fight through the ball. I know that happened last week, but I don't think we talked about it. That was a really nice play. But yeah, Gentry Williams, hopefully something that he can get back from, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I think I had one more 3-word review to get to on Twitter X. Stone Cold Sooner says, State Fair win. Blaylock the guy, and downfield passing, ? Yeah, there's nothing downfield. So who knows? Let's see. What else are we missing here?
I'm not sure. I think, I mean, it's a good win. It's a good win.
Oh, I found something. Tate Sandell with a 55-yarder just down the middle. Would have been good from 60 plus. Now, the replay, that field goal netting is like right behind the goalpost there. So, like, it hit about halfway up the netting. I was like, oh my gosh. It's like, okay, because typically the netting's a little bit farther back. So it didn't go as far as I thought. Like, I was thinking the netting was like 5 or 10 yards behind the goalpost, and it hit that high up. I was like, would that have been good from 70? I bet it would have been good from 62, 63. I mean, he drilled the crap out of that. And he is a weapon. He's a weapon. We'll see. I mean, now he's going to be playing against some really good teams coming up. And, I mean, hopefully Oklahoma's not trotting him out there too much because they need to score touchdowns, not field goals. But great to see Tate Sandell is a really good kicker, and he deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, on a defensive team where you're kind of offensively challenged a lot of the time, and I need a good field goal kicker as much as I hate it, because I hate kickers, but it is what it is.
Other than that, I'm going through my notes, see if I can see anything else that I'm missing. Oh man, there was on South Carolina's 10th possession. This was a comedy of errors by OU. On 3rd and 10, this is when Owen Heineke blitzed through the A gap and just totally whiffed on Lenora Sellers, and then Sellers got away and got the first down. And then next play, R. Mason Thomas finally got to Sellers and got him down for a sack. But then on 3rd and 17, he just dumped it off, and there was a missed tackle, and it was 3rd and 17, and South Carolina got the first down. I think in our group
Robert
chat,
Spears-Jennings again.
Robert Spears-Jennings
he's had a rough season.
That's a problem. That's why we're seeing so much Michael Boganowski out there. Clearly something's going on with him. And also on 4th and 10 on that series, Sellers scrambled for a first down. And so they were just I mean, it didn't matter at that point because they're winning by multiple scores, but it's just, the defense is really good, but it's almost like some of the more easier parts of the game where it should be easy to get off the field, now you're giving up big plays here. Come on. I guess maybe you could argue if I saw the all-22, maybe the secondary was covering really well downfield, and that's why. But rally up and make a tackle. Get him out of bounds. But that series, though, as bad as it was, that was the one that ended up when South Carolina got to 4th and 38. So OU got him off the field finally. Okay. 6-1, 2-1 in the SEC.
Everything's still ahead of them. I mean, get to Knoxville at 7-1. I think that's what, and all you got to do is go 1-0 this upcoming week, and then and I mean, and Tennessee has shown some, the last handful of weeks has shown some, for lack of a better term, they've been exposed, I think, a little bit, as they're very beatable. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, I think I do think on paper it's coming up, this is the best team they've played so far this season, Ole Miss, coming up next week. But I'm glad the game's at home. It's a tough break that it's an 11 a.m. kickoff for OU. Good big break.
Yeah, I missed that this
for
week.
Ole Miss.
What is that? Any idea why that was?
It was announced as an 11 or 11:45 kick this summer when they put in all the. So
okay,
it was always going to be an early kick. This one.
Yeah, that is too bad. That's too bad. Here's the upside. I mean, there's lots of upsides. Defensively, I mean, Oklahoma's offense is still struggling, but it does. We know Mateer's a good player. Mateer can find. He's got some talent. He knows. And I think Arbuckle's a good play caller. And these defenses, Ole Miss's defense is nothing special. Tennessee's defense might be bad. Alabama's defense is good. It's good, but these are not elite defenses though. So while their offenses are pretty damn good, and Oklahoma's defense is going to get tested, at least Oklahoma's offense is not going to be going up against Texas or Ohio State or their own defense. And with another week behind them, another week of practice underneath Mateer's belt, another week of healing. Maybe he can come out on Saturday against Ole Miss, and that offense looks a little bit better, get some explosives, and continues to run the football really well.
It's a huge game.
I'll believe when I see it.
It might be. There's certainly an argument that the game next Saturday is the biggest game of Brent Venables' tenure so far.
Heck, just like today was. Just like last week was.
So,
yeah,
we'll see. Good win.
All right. Well, we will, depending on how everything goes, we should be able to be back normal time if all goes to plan this next week. I'm scheduled to travel. That's why we're doing this tonight on a Saturday night. I'm scheduled to travel overseas for work, and that's probably better to get this done now than it would have been tomorrow. I'm not sure how that would have worked. I'm scheduled to come back on Wednesday when we typically record, so hopefully it'll be good to go. We can keep the same schedule as we normally do. Let's see. It looks like Texas won. Of course they did. Of course they won.
I mean, Kentucky just peeing down their leg. Texas got the ball first in overtime, and Kentucky stopped them. And so Kentucky just needed a field goal to win the game. And I don't know what happened because all of the games cast stuff just bugged out, and none of it was. So I'm assuming they probably had a stupid turnover or something. But yeah, Texas just made a 45-yard field goal to win the game.
Hey, Auburn might get a W finally against a ranked team. Okay. Any final thoughts before we call it a night?
No, good win. Hope they've set up next week rather well. So we will see what happens.
All right, guys. Well, hope you enjoyed Oklahoma's 26-7 win over South Carolina. We'll talk about whatever goes on in the world of OU football here in a few days, coming up in the middle of the week. Until then, for Grant, I am Lee. This is West of Everest. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to the show. And if you want to help us spread the word, please leave us a 5-star review. And also, tell all of your friends who are OU fans about West of Everest. You can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and SoundCloud.